screen. Right. Let's get this going. Thanks very much for coming along. We have our final episode in our 3-part online series, and we're looking at contextual decision making. Normal stuff applies. Let's move it on. So there's the number 3. We've done discipline and dealing with touch lines. We're on record, so best behaviour, please. If you're scrolling your bait like Ian, whack your camera off, but I can't see it anyway because I've got the PowerPoint up. If you need to go and take a call, do it. And if you've got questions, just shout them out as we're going. Don't bother saving them at the end. We'll just cover it off as we go. Take about 30-35 minutes. So what we're going to look at tonight is what is contextualized decision making, other than a really fancy way of saying something else. Why is it important to us as referees? How can it benefit us? And what does it actually look like? We'll look at a couple of clips, examples of what it can look like, and we'll discuss a couple of things as well that you may see or have during your games. So, what is contextualized decision making? Either Ian or Mark want to have a go at having a pop at this, what you think it might mean, or have you heard it before being talked about on the refereeing circuit?
I've never heard this before, but I will take a guess.
Go for it.
Is it when sometimes it's not just about calling the actual foul, if it is a foul, but sometimes you have to make a bigger decision on the impact of making the call on a game. For example, you try and keep 11 versus 11 on, but sometimes if the team is losing 10-0 or something and it's a walkover, is there a point of sending someone off? Maybe I've just said
you're on the right lines. You're
okay.
Definitely on the right lines. I think sending offs we'll talk about in terms of like the big things that we can't ignore, but certainly things in games of football that we can, or that we can look at and go, do we need to do that? All right. So there's some different aspects to contextualized decision making. These aren't my words because I'm not that smart, right?
Okay.
We've got perceptual speed and scanning, right? And all that means is that we're looking around all the time. Yeah. Are we aware of what's happening on the field of play around us, rather than just following the ball all the time? Because that's a really important part of, can we make that contextual decision? Because we need to see it. All right.
Okay.
So perceptual speed is just like how quick you see something. Can you see out the corner of your eye? You're always moving your head, just checking over shoulders at the safe time. So I always look at this as, if the defenders are passing the ball around the back, looking to ping a ball, and there's no one near them, well, you don't really need to look at them, because guess what? The ball can't commit a foul, right? So you need to be scanning for runs off the ball to help you with, is there a foul there? Has he pulled them, tripped them? Where's that the ball? If they're starting to run, that's where the ball's at. You're going to go, so you need to start moving. So that's what we're talking about in terms of perceptual speed and scanning, rather than just watching the ball with the defender at the back going, oh, well, now it's happening, and there's people running up behind your back or doing things behind your back. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Second one's concentration and focus. So, like them 10-0 wins, it's easy just to switch off and go, it doesn't really matter now. It's like the game's done. But we can't afford to do that as officials, because there's something that probably might bite with. And there's times in the game, there'll be first 5 and 10 minutes where it's really important to have that concentration. Same with like the first 5 and 10 minutes of setting off or the end of the game. So you can switch off at certain points, but it's just picking the right times to do that. Like I say, that example of the defender with the ball, there's no one near him. You're scanning, you're looking, but you can drop your concentration a little bit because there's no threat, there's no risk. And that's what we're looking at on that one. Cognitive processing just means how you think. All right. Are we thinking about things? Are we looking at how players are playing the ball, the body shapes? Are we thinking about the temperature of the game? What's just happened? If we just had to give a penalty and a red card, has someone two-footed someone, or has there been an act of violent conduct? So we've got a lot of thinking going on. Yeah, there's hundreds of decisions that we give or don't give in a game of football. So we need to be utilising that part of our decision making. Contextual judgment is a bit like what you're saying there. Like, do we need to do something? So we add that bit of context to our decision making, and that's what this sort of all comes together as. Um, you know, can I get away with that? Can I manage that instead of carding it? Temperature of the game, ebbs and flows, score lines, times. Because what you give as a foul in the first 10 minutes, you might not give as a foul in the last 10 minutes, or vice versa, because you're trying to close a game out. So you've got to make that judgment. Which one is it? And then on-field accuracy. So ultimately, we're judged on whether we get the decision right. Sometimes it's an unpopular decision. Sometimes we've just got to get that big decision right. There's some things that, we can get away with. So we're happy with how they come together as little segments to create this contextual decision making. It basically means we're going to manage a game of football.
Yeah.
It's the new fancy way of saying a bit like game management, but there's a few more aspects.
That's right.
To
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I gave a bad example there. I think one of the best things I ever saw was you remember a guy called Dave Tucker from Darlington?
Rings a bell.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
picture him.
But we were playing a game and we were, we were really on top. I think we were winning about 4 or 5-0. And one of us took a shot and one of the defenders saved it on the line with his hand. And we were winning it's like 4 or 5-0. The game was done, like the 89th minute, something. And Dave spoke to the guy and said, do you know what? If you saved that before the line, I would have sent you off. But the ball was behind the line, wasn't it? And the guy said, yeah, just all like smart thinking. So we didn't have to send him off. Gave us the goal, and that was it. And I thought, yeah, I always remember that. I thought that was really smart of him.
That's a much better example, and it's
Yeah,
something that we're going
yeah,
to talk about when we look at the clips. Yeah, so we'll
yeah,
talk about it now, actually. So, in that moment, yeah, there's no proof to say it has or hasn't crossed the line. So
yeah.
the referee's got that judgment to make.
Hmm.
Score lines 4-0, 5-0, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
Who's it going to benefit? Yeah, can we
yeah,
if the ball goes in, like say that went straight in rather than just go in, if that makes sense, then can we give the goal rather than send the player off and give a penalty?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But then there's another time where it could be 0-0, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't go in, and you can't just, you know, do that, and you've got to go. Because I always pose a question: if it's 0-0 and it's the first 10 minutes, what's better for a team? Is it to have a goal, or is it to have a penalty and play against 10 men for the rest of the game for the next 80 minutes? So that's where we sort of contextualize that and go, well, because it's not necessarily what they want. Sometimes it's what we want as referees as well. So, what's more advantageous to us? What would the game prefer? And what can we actually make as a decision? So that penalty handball one's a really good example.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's really important to us for a number of reasons. It's our match control. That's our main thing that we want to get this right for. Player management, because we need to work with players. That doesn't mean be the best friends. Doesn't mean they laugh and joke on with her or they agree with everything. But we need to be able to manage players in an appropriate manner that allows us to control a game. Because all these things underneath match control bleed into that. Game management. So there'll be times in the game when the temperature rises. So we've just had an incident. Could be something that you've given, could be something that you haven't. And you'll feel it on the field of play. You'll feel a few more tackles go in. It gets a bit more niggly. players are a bit more on edge. They're running around with a bit more speed and aggression. So we need to think about that foul that we didn't give in the first 10 minutes because we were quite happy that was just normal contact. All of a sudden, that normal contact might become just enough to be foul contact. And you can see where we're bringing that context into that moment in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'll often see some probably soft free kicks that are given the last 10 minutes of games because referees are wanting to close a game out to reduce the risk of something happening. And that's where they're looking to contextualize what they're doing. Correct, but we're also looking for credible decisions. Because sometimes the right decision isn't always, the correct decision isn't always the right decision. Because you may think, well, I'm not sure what that is. I tell you what, I'm going to go safe and give a goal kick because I don't want a risky corner and a goal happening because I wasn't sure. Well, that's a contextualized decision because in that moment of time, you need to think, well, what's my risk versus reward? And it doesn't have to be big game-changing decisions where we use contextualized decision making. It can be simple things like fouls and restarts. And the thing I always think about is do the right thing at the right time for the right reason. So, that soft free kick in the 80th minute, 85th minute, yeah, you're picking the right time and you're doing it for the right reason because you want to shut the game down. First 5 minutes, you might be quite happy to let them battle on, but you've then had 6 yellow cards, 1 off and 2 penalties. So do you want to be allowing just physical contact or do you want to rein it back in a bit? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to show you a couple of clips. They're of me refereeing because I couldn't find anything else. And I thought they're pretty simple clips, but I think they sort of really show what contextualized decision looks like. So this is one's at Blackpool against Bolton. So we'll have a look through. So you go, oh, that's easy, Seb. That's just a foul on the keeper.
Right, okay.
But it's what people expect. So the contact there, you might, if that's not a goalkeeper, and this is where it's slightly weird in what we do, keeper moves into him maybe. The Blackpool player just turns his shoulder and his body. The goalkeeper drops it. But what does everyone expect? What does football expect? What does the crowd expect? What do the players expect? Everyone expects a free kick.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not having to be. It's not rocket science, contextualized decision making. It's just managing a game of football. Thinking about the.
What time of the game was that? So was that near the end or was it 0-0?
That's a very good question. I'm trying to think. It was definitely second half.
Yeah.
Blackpool were attacking the other end. I want to say it was middle of the second half. I think we'd had a semi-dog show shout. It was still 0-0 or 1-1 because this game went went to penalties because it was a cup match.
All right, okay.
But it was quarterfinals of the AFL trophy, so it was it's a Blackpool Bolton, bit of a local derby, quarterfinal of a cup. So it was it was a bit on it. So it's about risk management for me at this point, and I'm I'd expect most people to give that every day of the week because it's a safe free kick to give. But if that was 2 outfield players in the middle of the park, would you give the same contact as a foul? I don't know. You might not. You might just create 2 bodies come together. But contextually, it's a goalkeeper and there's contact. He drops the ball or the ball gets spilled out of his hands because of the contact. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't need to be rocket science. It could be something that simple. And that, I think the next clip shows that really well. So this is the kickoff for a game, right?
Right.
I'm going to watch just down on the top of the screen near the touchline. All right, so what we're doing there with that challenge, we're like,
Free kick. Clumsy.
free kick. Anything more?
Could be a quiet word. He's
Well,
nowhere near the ball.
so what was that, Mac? Sorry?
So
He's nowhere near the ball, but he's very clumsy. I think a word's probably sufficient. It's early in the game. He's probably trying to lay a marker down. You need to lay your marker down, I think, as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, yeah.
So any other point in the game, that's a nailed on yellow, right? Because he's not playing the ball, he's just body rolled into him, and the players, I wouldn't say it's building an attack, but he's cutting in field to run towards the edge of the penalty area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's if that happens in the 20th minute even, it's a nailed on yellow card because he's no attempt to play the ball there other than take him out. But this, because it's 30 seconds in, if that, probably not even that. Do I want that as my yellow card for my first one in the game? And you both mentioned the time of the game, laying your marker down, and that's what contextual decision making is. If I said to you that's a second leg of a playoff match, would you definitely not yellow card that? Would that even make you more so wary of even doing anything with them?
It's funny actually because what I always hear and what I had on Sunday was it was early on in the game, but I felt it was, that you upset the mark, and I gave him a yellow card. And guess what he said? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my first one. It's my first one. I was like, I don't care. It's still bad. So I always say, wait a second, your first tackle, but you could break someone's leg. It's okay, is it? No, it's not. That's a foul. That's it was a yellow card caution. So
I think,
yeah.
I think it's that balance of punishing the physical. So this clip here, it's not really a dangerous tackle. It's not reckless.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just there's no attempt to play the ball.
Mhm.
If he lunges in, it's not a red, but if he lunges in with his foot and catches him on the foot and ankle and that, then I probably would go yellow because there's certain things I can't manage.
Yeah,
And this is where you've got to be careful with contextual decision making. It's not just, well, I'll not bother doing anything because I can justify it as, well, I'm trying to manage a game of football. It's, for me, this clip it's 10, 20 seconds into a playoff semi-final second leg.
Mhm.
I don't really want that to be a yellow card for what the action actually is. And to be fair, I didn't even speak to him because I didn't want to highlight it. Because I thought, well, they've both got up, they've shook hands, and we're just going to have a free kick.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's more of a foot challenge rather than him just rolling into him, then it probably has to be something more than just a free kick.
Mhm.
But again, you look at the context of things. So I think 20, 30 minutes later, I had a yellow card for a reckless challenge because you can't ignore bad tackles, but you can, like where it's a corner goal kick, save free kicks here and there. Can I manage this rather than having to card everything? Talk about the
Mhm.
penalty advantages, things like that. Like advantages is a great one. It's
Yeah, yeah.
advantages for the benefit of the team that's been offended. It's what law states, but it's also got to be something that benefits you as a referee, because if it threatens your match control, we're going to go into a bit of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's really hard to like find loads of clips around contextual decision making because sometimes they're just the normal things that you see. So, do you
I think
want?
sometimes as well, Seb, it depends on the players. I mean, those two just got up and got on with the game. They knew it was a free kick. That was it. But some
Yeah,
players, they get the slightest touch and they whinge on and complain. And, but those two were just happy to get on with the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's things like tapping the ball. Is it enough for delaying the restart or not? Like, what's the context of the game? Is it 0-0, or is it, you know, is he doing it to really stop them, or is it on the whistle? If you had no issues in the game, if it's 5-0. So I went to watch a Northern League game the other week, and a player balls out for throwing. He kicked the ball against the concrete step, bounced up and just sort of slapped it over the barrier. Now, in law, that could be a yellow card for delaying the restart.
Mm-hmm.
But the context of the game, it was 3-0. The temperature of the game was really low. There'd been no challenges to the referee's authority. And all I wanted was the referee just to recognise that it happened and speak to the player. That's all it would require. Yeah, I probably frustrated that they were 3-0 down.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that's 0-0 in the 80th minute, is he like, you might take a different view because he's might be delaying the game to get a point. You don't know. So you've got to be really switched on to like taking things into, and that's what it is, context.
Yeah.
And that's not justifying giving someone a justification for their actions. If they do something and you need to deal with it. But that dealing with it might be anywhere from, a chat and passing, captain, or a card. But you've got to do the right thing for you in that game at that right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Short and sweet tonight, lads. Stop sharing my screen. Is there anything you want to ask around contextual decision making? Because it's one of those ones that you probably get better at with more experience.
Makes a lot of sense, and I think it's right for the game. It's right for you as a referee when you're managing the game, I think, as well. It's just about getting it right, I think, and requires a bit of thinking, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I'm on about, the cognitive stuff. It's like you've got to actually think about it, because sometimes, you'll do it during games, you'll see bits of contact that you think, that's a foul, that. And you're looking around and like, anyone wants it, so you don't give it. So you play on.
Yeah.
And that's what's our contextual decision making is, really. It's just simple things like that. It's like, because like not every foul needs to be given, but it needs to be recognized.
Exactly.
So you can then pop it in your pocket and you go, well, yeah. There's things that I didn't give on Saturday, first half, and then I give a couple of ones second half, and a couple of players went, "Oh, you didn't give that first half." And I went, yeah, I didn't. But guess what? I have now, because I needed just a couple of them every now and then, just to keep it on a level playing field.
Yeah.
So you've just got to read that and smell it and feel it when you're reffing.
Yeah, I did that on Sunday. There's something on Sunday. There's a guy who, in the first like 10, 15 minutes, he made a foul. And like I say, it was just a free kick, Then the second one. So I spoke to him again. I said, look, that's two, all right? And then I said, I can't talk to you again. And then just after the half time, he made a third foul, which is a foul,
Yeah.
And I cautioned him. And you know what? Because I spoke to him beforehand and said, I can't talk to you again. When I gave him the foul, he just, hands up and everything, he didn't complain because he knew. So yeah. And that could be the same with that clip that you showed. You didn't have to book him straight away, but you can just, as you say, note it. So the guy wants to do it again and maybe two more, you can do like a touching up process and just say, hey, that's three now, So yeah.
It's you just got to judge what you see at the time, and does it feel right? And it's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security when everything's fine and just like over manage things.
Yeah.
And you've got to like find that balance of like, yeah, I can manage that one today, but maybe and I used to hate this, like we'll say on another day it wouldn't work for you. Yeah, but on another day it's a different type of game, and I wouldn't do that because I can't do that. And it's just recognizing patterns of play, players' behaviors, temperatures of games, what people want, what can be accepted by football, and what works for you in terms of your match control. And it's about piecing them all together, and that's what forms this contextual decision making. So Hope that was all right.
Yeah. No,
Mark's
it's
ready to
good
rock
though.
and roll. He's got his kit on, ready to go. He's going to jump out the car, be action man. But I'm going to stop the recording now, and
Yeah.
then that's that done. But thanks for coming for the sessions we put on. And we'll hopefully do some more during the season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Seb.
Thanks, Seb.
Bye.